Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are here today for another round for round 3 of 4 of the New Dimension Racing GT2 Challenge of 2020 in association with SimBroadcast.tv. And I don't know about you, but my head is still full of that West Hill race. What an unbelievable race that was. I don't know how we're quite going to top that today. And together with me, Chris Ford, in the stream today is Jack Eyre and Thilo Falkenberg. Thilo, I'll come to you first. How on earth are we going to top that West Hill race? That was sheer madness from start to finish.
That set the bar very high, to be honest, and it's going to be interesting to see if the race can live up to that standard. However, we've got some good news to you out there. It's going to be a race of different strategies, and that seemed to be the key ingredient in the West Hill round as well. So a little bit of strategy, a little bit of chaos, and we're back to that level again.
Yes, and it'll be very, very interesting, Jack. I think with this track, seeing how turn one goes, because it's a hairpin, and normally hairpins don't go very well for turn ones in this series. We saw Black with a little bit of bumping and boring. I wonder if there'll be a little bit more of that today.
Yeah, I think definitely some jostling for position expected to be seen, and it's going to take a lot to top what we saw just a few weeks ago, all that drama, and it came down to strategy in the end, drivers looking after the tyres could be the difference between them crossing the finish line in first and having to pit and losing a handful of positions. So we'll see how things unfold today. Obviously, we're at Aston North, AS7, 5.16 kilometre or 3.21 mile track, and a variety of cars for drivers to choose from. Not sure if the FXR is as popular here, but we will see. Things are unfolding. So we've got 20 minutes of free practice and then 20 minutes of qualifying, and it's all good to go for the race. So hope you gents are as excited as I am. This is going to be a good one.
It's been so long since I've seen a GTR race at Aston North. I think IGTC did one in 2008, 2009, Thilo, I think, potentially. I think that might be the last time it was used. And it's a classic track. It's, as you say, got so many different corners. We're coming from the flat blasts of West Hill through the English countryside. We're still in England, according to the way that Live for Speed works. At Aston North, as you say, and this track has hairpins. It has flat-out sectors through sweeping corners, and it has an Eau Rouge style corner. Sorry, should that be Radley-on? I'm not really sure which is which. And that drops you down dramatically down to the final corner. It's difficult to get right that section. I can't wait to see these cars go through there today, Jack.
No, it should be absolutely incredible. Drivers again will suffer from the aero drop through, for example, turns 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. the long flat out between sector 1 and 2 that we see, those long sweeping corners with quite a bit of elevation changes as well. It's going to be quite hard for drivers to get too close to each other through that sector, but then we've got a long straight between turns 10 and 11, just where split 3 line is, and it'll be exciting to see if anybody can get the run on somebody through there, because as we know, obviously the draft is huge in these cars, plenty of opportunities for overtaking, and if the battles aren't going to be sorted on track, they'll be sorted in the pits as well, because strategy definitely comes into play again here.
Yes, we have a variety of strategy options again, as you say there, Jack. I don't think it's going to be possible for an FZR to go all the way, as Isaac Price has used twice to win this race. I think the FZR today will have to pit. The XRRs, though, they seem to be a little bit more spread in how they're going to go for it. Some will try and go the whole way on R3, R3. Joe Holmes, I believe, is trying another R2, R3 set to go the whole way. And there's going to be quite a few XRR drivers who go with the R2, R2 softer compound tire, except they have to pit, and are just going to go for it full blast with lower fuel. This race really, really has the potential to be something quite special again, I think, boys. And the variety of the corners on this track means that it's going to be difficult to see which car is going to be exactly has the pace advantage, because as you say, it's got the long blast which suits the XR, but it's also got, Thilo, the tightest corner in Live for Speed, the first gear left-hander at turn number 3.
And this corner is a little bit difficult in that way that it seems to be very wide, because you can see down that back straight section of the national configuration, but then you arrive at the corner and it suddenly is just a rather narrow affair to get around it. especially with that right-hander swinging around there.
Yes, the qualifying session has begun. They're just like to come out the pits and try and get a bit of a gap. It's a very narrow pit lane as well, which will be interesting to see how people react to using that as opposed to the nice wide confines of West Hill. Even Blackwood is a lot wider in this pit lane. As we look at Isaac Price here, trying to find a bit of a gap, he's right here a little bit of a touch with Pikarainen, who's making a return to the series, have missed the previous round at West Hill. This is Isaac Price, of course, who leads the championship after scoring maximum points in the first 2 rounds. Of course, boys, he had an adventure at West Hill. He was nowhere for most of that race before slight luck with Joe Holmes' puncture, but the comeback was pretty spectacular from both himself and Joni Katia after they both collided and ended with the gravel trap on map 3.
Yeah, I don't think either of those two would have found themselves up at the sharp end of the grid considering the action that went on earlier in the race. But, I mean, they both ended up on the podium, so that speaks in volumes. Anything can happen. We had a couple safety cars last week, hopefully. We don't see too much spicing up here. I'd like everything to be settled through like skill in a way, not settled through a safety car or an incident that's not a driver's fault. We saw Joe Holmes get caught up with some traffic, and unfortunately that cost him the lead of the race. And because we had a safety car, drivers were unable to keep all the temperature in the tyres, and they had to do extra scrubbing, so to speak, in order to keep any sort of remnants of temperature in the tyres at all. And that, I think that's what cost Joe Holmes the race win last weekend, as he got a puncture with a couple laps to go and dropped him down the grid order good style. And Isaac did not escape. He luckily managed to get away with it, but like we said, if you haven't seen, feel free to go and have a look at it. The last lap, the last corner, Isaac Price, front right, puncture, almost cost him the race win. I think the gap to Catilla at the line was 0.3 of a second, so even when you think it's over, it's never over.
Yes, indeed, and hopefully there will be more action like that today, frenetic as well throughout the race. You can see here Isaac Price on the screen just now going through the first sector. He's just out of that tight hairpin that we were just discussing, and now we're coming into this flat out section that Jack has described earlier on. Left then right, then the hardest corner, plunging right-hander. It's actually more difficult in reverse, but it's still a spectacular corner for the drivers. And then up to the most evil chicane in Live for Speed. Because it's tight, it narrows all the way down, and on the exit it's very, very easy, as you will see, to just hit that little curb on the exit of the corner there, which has very, very thin and has a lot of grass on the outside and could easily spit the car off. That's a danger zone for the drivers during this race, especially in draft.
Yeah, especially since you're so used to having some AstroTurf beyond the curbing. In that very particular place, there is no such AstroTurfing, and yeah, he directly hit the very slippery grass around West Hill, around Aston. Sorry, what am I talking about?
You're just desperate to see another race like West Hill the previous time.
Definitely.
And there's that Eau Rouge section as Isaac Price bounces through it. It's a spectacular piece of cornering. It can be taken flat out in the GT2 cars, especially in qualifying, and as you can see there, it likes to spit you out because it sometimes the bottom of the car tends to hit the bump in the middle of it and spit the car out the other end. And that is the end of the first runs. I expect the pole position to be a 51, a 1 minute 51. At the moment, Lagaukis has taken pole position after the first runs are complete with a 1 minute 52.27 in his XRR, and I expect that there's going to be a few people who can beat that at the moment. Again, I expect a close qualifying session, just like at West Hill. Perhaps not as close as West Hill, but it will still be close.
Obviously, all 3 cars that the drivers have to choose from, the FZR, the XRR, sorry, and the FXR, they're all sort of balanced to keep, you know, the racing as close as possible. So the FZR, which is the popular car of choice for your championship leader, has a 21% intake restriction. So that's got a 3.6 naturally aspirated flat 6, so it's basically a Porsche, a fictional Porsche, rear wheel drive, 356 horsepower given the intake restriction, and with all 3 cars weighing 1100 kilograms, gives the FZR power to weight ratio of 320 brake horsepower per ton, and that is the lowest of all 3 cars. However, for some reason, live for speed being live for speed, these cars are incredibly close together now. The FZR is unique in the way that it has a H pattern gearbox, whereas the other two have sequential gearboxes. The XRR, the second car of choice, arguably the more popular of all three cars, chosen by Joe Holmes, for example, and Luguscas, I believe, also is in an XRR. They have a 25% intake restriction, so 4% more than the FZR that I mentioned previously. Now, this affects the car in different ways. Obviously, you can restrict a turbocharged car a bit more than you would with a naturally aspirated car, purely because you get peak power throughout the rev range as soon as you've got boost pressure. So the XRR, 25% intake restriction, 2-litre turbo, it's an inline-4 engine, rear-wheel drive, same as the FZR, 356 brake horsepower, so exactly the same horsepower as the FZR, but that's got a sequential gearbox this time. And the final car of choice is the FXR, and that's got a 24% intake restriction, so 3 more than the FZR, 1 less than the XRR, but again a 2-litre turbocharged, but this time it's a flat 4 engine. And the FXR is 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, whichever way you want to look at it. So it handles differently. All cars seem to have a defining factor that separates them from the other two. Even though they're as close as they possibly can be, there are severe differences. So the similarities between the XRR and the FXR are the fact that they're both 2-litre, 4 cylinders with a turbo, and they both have sequential gearboxes, but one's all-wheel drive and one's rear-wheel drive. And then the FZR, that's it's a H pattern, everything, flat 6, naturally aspirated, you name it. These cars are vastly different, but yet so similar, and they've all been balanced so that they're such an even playing field, really. But like you said, different cars can work better at different combinations of tracks and whatnot for whatsoever. So what do you think the money's on today? I mean, we were talking about it before in terms of raw pace. Is it the FXR or is it the FZR?
I think for the first time,
flat 6.
I think for the first time this season it could very well be. I think with the FZR it's going to come down to strategy most likely, but the FZR is a bit better in twistier stuff. The XR gains quite a lot in the higher speed, but it's negated by what it needs to do to be competitive in twistier stuff at this track. So I think for the first time this season, given we've been to Blackwood and West Hill, which are a bit more XR tracky, I think that Aston North could be the first time the FZR is ahead on pace, but the FZR uses its tyres more and it takes longer to be fueled and serviced in a pit stop. So we might, I don't know, it's a difficult one to choose. That's the beauty of this format of racing. There are many, many different outcomes that could actually happen. Also, I'd like to just point out, I think the main difference between the FZR, and the XR and the FXR is the FZR and the XR are racing cars, and the FXR is a bus. Thanks, just want to get that in there.
Well, after all, the cars were inspired by the JGTC championship, so the Japanese GT championship that is the predecessor of today's Super GT. Back in the day, they allowed also all-wheel driven GT cars to compete. That's the heritage route of the FXR. We're just on board with Joe Holmes, entering turn 2, using all the extra road there and the exit, and now into the hairpin number 3.
The one thing I would note at the moment is that all the drivers seem to be struggling to get clean lapped in. They seem to be tripping over each other in a considerable amount at the moment. We still have the first run times. Nobody's better at their first run times at the moment. A few drivers have got in runs that they didn't complete in the first run, but at the moment it's a bit of a struggle for everybody out there. As we've discussed earlier, Jack discussed earlier, the draft in that second sector is not helping anybody at the moment. If they're even remotely close to a car in front, they're having to lose that time.
Now you can imagine plenty of drivers on track at the moment. 23 out of, I believe there's around about 30 or 31 drivers have set times so far with just under 10 minutes remaining. Can anybody get the perfect draft, so to speak. Get through sector 1 nice and clean, and manage to hook up to the back of somebody else just by pure luck, really, and gain a few tenths on the straight. That could be the difference between a couple grid places for a few drivers. Nobody's managed to conquer the 51s as of yet. We are quite close. Unfortunately, Joe Holmes aborts that lap into the, well, I want to say Radion Eau Rouge corkscrew kind of combo corner. Really, it's such a spectacle.
I'm just not going to commit to which one it is because I don't want WTF1 fans coming at me.
Well, you could argue that in this direction it's more like the corkscrew in Laguna Seca.
Can you imagine if they were able to take the corkscrew like they can this one in Live for Speed?
Carnage would ensue.
It's bad enough as it is.
Careti, Zanella just running wide there, running really wide, and he has not set a time yet and got to abort that one.
You've got to be incredibly careful when you go anywhere near the grass with slick tyres. I've said it once and I'll say it again. You get the remotest part of the tyre on the grass and you are a passenger, and there's not much runoff here. As you can see in the sector where you need to stay on the track the most, there's only, what, 7 or 8 meters of grass, and then it's either a barrier or a concrete wall.
The grass is rather like oil at this track. I've never been too sure how on earth they managed to come up with the physics for this grass that they use at Aston. It feels like the Aston grass is the worst. I know I talked about the West Hill grass being bad, but we're mentioning grass an awful lot in this broadcast now, I realise. I think I just said it about 5 times there in a second. It's a big factor. It's a big factor because these tracks are slightly older than the contemporary ones that you would see in a normal, in real life these days. So there's a little bit less sort of safety rigor about them. However, that is due to change very, very soon within Live for Speed, I believe. Hopefully, all these tracks are due for a massive upgrade.
Time will tell.
But at least the preview shots were very pretty that are released on LFS.net.
Yeah, also the small video or GIFs or GIFs, however you want to pronounce it, of the day-night transitions look absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to see this game being brought into a DirectX of the century.
It's almost 21st century.
Isaac just crossed the line to start his next flying lap attempt. A little bit of a drift through, yeah.
Yeah, but he's looking for around about an 18.7 or 8 for this first split. That'll tell us at the start how close he is to getting into the 51s. 19.07. It's bring backable. In fact, we have now actually got somebody who's even closer to the 51s. The Gaucus has gone even quicker than his first lap. He's now done a 1 minute 52.05 to extend his pole position to a quarter of a second over Isaac Price.
Yeah, but we didn't see Isaac improving since his first attempt earlier in the session, so... As you can see on the screen now, the intervals, the gap between the best time to the current pole position or provisional pole position time.
The gaps on our graphic will fluctuate between everybody's gap to the leader and individual gaps. You'll be able to see how close some drivers are. Sometimes we have to stress. I mean, there was a few drivers that set identical lap times last time around. I think there were about 6 or 7 drivers that all mirrored each other. Just look how committed he is to the first left-hander of that corkscrew, whatever you want to call it. It's unbelievable that it's going to be incredibly hard to do that in real life.
Mount Everest. Let's just say it's a drop like Mount Everest. It's evil. And
Isaac Price, he does improve. It's not good enough to get up into the pole position place. However, Isaac Price, last time around, a 152.31. He goes a little bit faster this time with a 152.22. So, getting closer to Vitatas Laguskas in pole position in the XRR with a 52.05. Can anybody get into the 51s in the just over 4 minutes that we have remaining? And can anyone take pole position away from Laguskas?
Looking at a very old core racing livery here. Leibnig's currently in 17th position with a... Okay, now in 18th position, 1 minute 53.52.
Yes, the first to 18th is separated by 1.5 seconds. It's very close again, this grid.
Just approaching turn number 10. Obviously, a lot of drivers opting to take this flat throughout qualifying. However, we saw a slight lift just before he turned into the corner. Now, the long straight separating turn 10 from 11 over split number 3 line. A 1 minute 19.73 so far. So not a bad lap. Approaches some traffic as we turn right through 11. Using all the curb and the AstroTurf on the right on the outside of number 12, the little corkscrew that we have. And just look at the commitment there. You can almost feel the car bottoming out as the compression almost takes control of the vehicle. Nice exit using a lot of the AstroTurf on the outside of number 13 through the kink of 14 and across the start finish line. He does move up a couple of positions from 19th to 17th, but 153.33. Sure, he'll definitely want to improve. Our pole position time is a 152.05. As we look at the man in 3rd position, Thilo, the white and black FZR, so far managed a 152.36. We'll see what he can do this time around. Through turn number 1 now, hard on the brakes. You don't want to run too close to the apex because that curb on the inside can unsettle the car. Through turn number 2, you can just see how on the edge of grip they are almost. You can see the back end of the car coming out. So now we're approaching the time where if you leave the pits, you won't have time to complete your outlap. So the cars on track will more than likely stay on track unless they're on a fast lap like Stalo. Wonder if drivers can get 1 or 2 laps out of their qualifying set. And as we come through the fast sweeping section that is the end of sector 1 and the start of sector 2. Through turn number 7 now. This is the chicane that Chris was talking about earlier. You don't want to run wide on the exit of this. You want to get as close to the grass as you possibly can to maximize all of the track. Through the almost 180 degree left-hander of turn 9 now. Using all of the track that you possibly can. Look over the line on the AstroTurf through. Slight lift at the apex there, but more committed than we've seen so far. That's split number 3, and it's a 119.13 so far. So a decent lap from the man in 3rd position. He's currently set a 1 minute 52.36. If he can go just over a tenth faster than he has so far, he might find himself on the front row in 2nd place. Hard on the brakes now through turn number 13. Again, missing the apex strategically. You don't want to unsettle the car by getting on that curb too much. It hinders you getting on the power. And I think this is the only lap that he's going to have in him. He does go faster. Thilo Starlo, P2 now from P3 with a 152.13. And I was just looking at the tyre graph throughout the lap. His rear right through the last sectors just seem to set on fire, you know, and these setups of course are only tailored to 1 or 2 laps, however many the driver wants to get out of a qualifying set. They'll be running incredibly low amounts of fuel.
Yeah, so we're coming to the end of the session. I think only Joe Holmes is the last man who can improve his time. He's down in 9th position. at the moment. A bit of a disappointing run that for Joe. We're looking at Sean Lee at the moment on screen. He comes into the back sector. Lee in 14th position at the moment, less than a second off the pace. There's a big gaggle of cars. If he can just improve by a tenth of a second, that he can overtake and get himself into the top 10. Full commitment to the downhill left-right. Now he's only got this tricky final corner. It's not like a normal hairpin. It bottoms out in the middle and rises again on the exit. It's a very strange corner. Here he comes through the kink for the line. Can he improve on P14? Sean Lee for the line. And he goes 8th. He does improve by a massive amount. Sean Lee jumps into the top 10 for 14th. A great final lap. Holmes is now down to 10th position. That's a bit
Matthias
disappointing for him at the
Heimele
moment.
around the final corner, also a decent split time. He might improve.
Tell you what, Joe Holmes is on a good lap. Joe Holmes is going to improve if he can just get this tricky final sector correct. Here he comes into the downhill section, and only the final corner to go. He gets through that tricky bit which he's had trouble with before. And he's into the final corner now. Holmes currently 10th. Can he improve? If he's on pace for at least top 5, I do reckon, if he's managed to maintain the speed through the final sector. Here he comes, Joe Holmes for the line, and he goes... Oh, he remains 10th. Something that was not a great final sector there for Holmes. That's a major surprise, Thilo.
Yeah, especially after his tough luck in West Hill. He was aiming to recover even stronger. So he's really got to recover stronger with just starting from 10th position. But one must again attest that it is a densely packed field. Top 14 are within a second. Nico Pintola actually the first one out of that 1 second interval in 15th position.
Yes, that is the first person out with the second, as you say there. So it's a highly competitive grid again in qualifying, which is the exact same as we saw in West Hill. We all know what happened at West Hill. But will it happen again today? The first corner is going to be all important with the tightness of it and the short run. Everybody's going to still be tightly compact down into that first corner, and I think there's going to be potentially some incidents. So, Thilo, would you like to take us through the grid order? Just the 26 drivers that will be competing today, or shall we actually go for a quick break? Actually, maybe that's a possible thing to do. And then we'll do that as we line up. So actually, we will take a short break now while we do the gridding up, and we will be back as soon as we can in just a couple of minutes. Thank you. We're back. Ready to race. They're just doing the grid at the moment, and Thilo Falkenberg is ready and waiting to take you through the grid after qualifying for the third round of the season for the GT2 Challenge by New Dimension Racing, presented by Sim Broadcasts, live here from Aston North. Thilo, take it away.
So Vytautas Lagutskas for Last Lap Motorsports is on pole position with a 1:52.05. He is followed by Artur Yorostalo and Isaac Price for Mare Racing in third position. William Lima, Energy Virtual Racing in fourth position. Then it's Yoni Katila for World Class Lions, Kaike Piroppo for Energy Virtual Racing, Sean Lee for Aerotech Newsroom, then Victor Veloso for Energy Virtual Racing. Next, Joe Holmes. Then he's followed by Pedro Picanco for Roda Presa Racing, Matthias Mackie Heumler, Presmak Vedoriats for Conquest Racing, Ayub El-Anawi for Born to Race, Nico Pontola for Man Racing, Daniel Balla for Race Green Autosports, Borislav Botev for Fast and Crazy Sim Sports, Andreas Leibniz for Core Racing, Patrick Lienka for Born to Race, Jared Mead for Angry Angus Racing, Jeff and Jacob for Race Green Autosports, Cristobal Gonzalez for Born to Race, Rec LeBlanc for Angry Angus Racing, and then we've got Maciej and Jürgen Weber. Jürgen Weber, one of the many cars who were penalized after or between both rounds. He is penalized with a 10-place grid penalty for late confirmation. Other penalties are for Matthias Pikkarainen. He did not pre-qualify, so he's got to start from the pit lane. Fernando Igor for Energy Virtual Racing, also pit lane start for not pre-qualifying. Same goes for Andreas Rotsitis. Car number 80, Zanella. He also has to start from the pit lane as he failed to follow the safety car procedure in West Hill. Andreas Ayo also did not pre-qualify, and so didn't Marcelo Neva. So a bunch of people having to start this race from the pit lane.
Yes, and as we discussed, Thilo, I don't know if that's going to be a disadvantage because, quite honestly, I'm expecting turn one chaos because these guys are going to be so close together on that short run between the line and turn number one. It's very, very tricky braking zone even on your own, but I can't imagine with 32 other cars around you trying to go for that narrow first corner that there isn't going to be some kind of touching and barging.
The only good thing is that the cars are not having a huge speed difference. So if someone misses the braking point, it's probably not launching someone into the space. Believe that for Tesla and SpaceX today.
Well, we hope. I mean, that's gone wrong so many times before Elon Musk's. Yes, let's not talk about that. Actually. Let's not talk about that man. So we have hopefully some thrilling action coming for you today. It can't top West Hill, can it? Really, boys? I don't know. Let's see after this. Let's break.
Welcome back to NDR GT2 Challenge Round 3. Drivers are just setting off from the grid to start the formation lap. Rolling start here as always. Your safety car is driven once again by Mr. Stuart Baker. So we've got Lugus Cass in pole position, followed by Eyre Starlow and Isaac Price. So we've got XRR, FZR for the top three.
Yes, it's going to be around about a 3-minute formation lap here. As you can see, they're swerving about, trying to get some heat in the tyres. As Thilo was talking about earlier, there are a number of cars that have already had to go out the pits and sit and wait, and I wouldn't like to be sitting there for 3 minutes while my tyres get cold before going out onto that flat-out back sector. So good luck to those drivers who have had to start from the pit lane, boys.
Yeah, a couple of drivers will have to start from the pit lane. Well, just that, I think that's because of a few late confirmations for the race. We already know. So drivers will stick single file. The pace car is at 75 miles an hour. And once we get through the corkscrew, cars will double up. And overtaking is as soon as the green flag drops, really. So we might see a jostle for position before we even approach the line if somebody gets the run on another driver.
There's so little run between the start-finish line and the first corner that they're going to be so close to each other down in there that I wouldn't be surprised if we see incidents. I promised somebody in the chat that we would discuss the tyre strategy again. XRR, some of them, including our pole position runner, oh, he's running on the grass there, will be running R3, and they won't be stopping in this race. For the FZR, it is very unlikely that they will be able to make it, so they're going R2, R3 in full blast. Some of the XRRs are also going for R2 in full blast in the effort to capitalise on the quicker pit stop that the XR has. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see who has got the strategy right. A complete variety. There's no uniform decision from any of the cars and any of the drivers today about what the best solution is as the drivers begin to line up 2 by 2, Noah's Ark formation, as they come out to the final corner, waiting for the green flag fly. Stuart Baker will peel off on the left-hand side there. There he goes. When will the green flag come? Lugutskas on pole position. Can he hold it in his XRR for last lap motorsport down to turn number 1? They're very, very close there. There goes the green flag. Price makes a good start for the second row again. Lugauskas has a good run into turn number 1. Here they go down into this tricky braking zone. Will they all make it round? It appears it's pretty clean at the front. Joe Holmes putting his nose in there against Katia.
Victor Veloso running wide.
Veloso runs wide in the XRR there in the middle of the field. He was the only casualty so far. It appears to be very, very clean so far, boys.
Yeah, definitely. The cars just making their way out of the pit lane now. The ones who started from the pits. Isaac Price again trying to send it up the side of Eyre Starlow. They're side by side now through turn number 4, through the right hander underneath the Michelin bridge for the first time. Lugus Cass leads again. Eyre Starlow just managing to hold on to second position so far. Isaac Price in pursuit and Lima in 4th position. This group of 4 already starting to separate themselves from the rest of the field. The gap from 4th to 5th is almost a second now as we round turn number 8 for the first time, approaching 9. This is the almost 180 degree left-hander we run on board with the man in 4th position, number 14. What can William Lima do from 4th position? He's all over the back of Isaac Price. He didn't get the ideal run out. Drivers have got to be very careful here. During the briefing, we were told that all cars have got to keep 2 wheels on the tarmac at all times, but we will see how that goes. Not sure if it applies for turn number 10. It wasn't entirely specific, however.
Lima now under pressure for Katia.
Yeah, Katia moves round the outside, just manages to get the overlap and turn in as he normally would as we enter the corkscrew now for the first time. Very close to the tyres. No mistake so far. Though few shuffles for position so far. The top 3 remain the same, however. Lugus Cass leads from Eyre Starlow followed by Isaac Price. Catilla has made his way up to 4th position. William Lima down in 5th position. Joe Holmes in 6th. Kaike Parapo in 7th. Nico Puntola in 8th position. Sean Lee in 9th. And Maki Homela in 10th position. That rounds out your top 10, at least for lap 1 now. The spread between 1st and 10th is just under 5.5 seconds, so everybody's still very, very close to each other on track now.
The variety of strategies really come into play. Laguska's under severe pressure because he has gone for the harder compound all round. He is not planning to stop today, so he's got more fuel than his rivals. The likes of Lima and Katia have gone for R2, and they will be pushing hard during this original stint.
We're looking at Fedoriats for Conquest Racing here on the screen, side by side with Linka. And Fedoriats was a couple of positions further up after lap 1, so he seems to have enough.
Laguskas has been defending heavily from Istalo as they went through the fast sweepers there to allow Price to close back on them again. Katia has certainly come from a pretty average grid position on his R2 setup. He is now challenging the back of Price. I wonder if Katia is going to go for Price here. Here they come. Price defending down the right-hand side of that track. Can Katia sweep round the outside as he did to Lima before? It's going to be brave from there. He's got less of a run-up. Can he make it stick? No. Price holds firm by turning in first. Katia looking racy up against his old rival there, Isaac Price. These two have finished first and second in both the first 2 rounds of the championship. As Katia gets unbelievably sideways to even touch the tyres. That is the commitment that these guys are throwing these cars around on this track.
Yeah, he took one of the tires volley there.
You see William Lima, we're on board with him now. Look how he's looking to the inside of Catilla. He wants that 4th position back. He's not happy about the start of the race there, but it was a fantastic move that Catilla pulled off on lap number 1. Just not able to do it on Isaac Price. Didn't have the clearance that he had before. Isaac Price choosing to take quite a late apex there into turn number 3.
And right behind William Lima, you already see Joe Holmes, who started back in 10th position, now up into 6th. So already a couple of positions gained.
Ustalo and Laguskas are fighting at the front. Laguskas, obviously with the slower car at the moment, he's doing a great job of defending. He does have the fastest lap, but that is, I think, because the dirty air from Ustalo and Price, that he really did get affected in the sweepers on the last lap. So Ustalo has easily caught him again. Will he be able to make the move into this chicane? He's a little bit too far back, I think, just now. The draft is really hurting him for the back of that XR. The XR not brilliant in the dirty air off the big wing of the XRR as we plunge down back toward the Radion complex.
I don't think he's close enough this time, but Ilustalo is definitely closer to the apex through turn number 10, and with the added draft gets him a little bit closer to the race leader, Laguskas, as we approach turn number 11 for the 3rd time now through the corkscrew. We'll see who has more commitment. Ilustalo arguably closing that gap through sector number 3 as we approach turn number 13. It's all about the exit, getting the traction out of here, using all the runoff that you can available to you. As we cross the line, you can see the top 2 now starting to break away from the pack behind.
Big
the gap
crash
between...
in the back at the top of the corkscrew. Jürgen Weber in the gravel on the approach to this corkscrew even. He can continue. It looks like everyone else can also continue, but...
He's lucky that the FXR that he's driving is all-wheel drive. Helps him out of the gravel there.
Sorry, Jack. Isaac Price has dropped back behind Lima and Katia, so something has happened unseen by us. We're very, very close down into the final corner. I wonder if Price has made an error. At the moment, he is not really competitive with his setup. The two R2 XRs having the match of him, as does Justalo with a similarly compounded FCNR. So our championship leader heading backwards at the moment, and now into the clutches of his nemesis, Joe.
The 2 in the front now, side by side through turn number 5 and 6. Huge crash underneath the bridge. We might see a safety car. Ilustalo takes the lead. So a change for position and a huge crash further back. That's Pedro Picanco. number 17 in the double blue, turquoise, dark blue and black, now down unfortunately in 29th position. So Eyre, like I said, managed to make the move through turn number 7. He is your new race leader, but it's not over yet. Laguscas in close pursuit. The gap is about 0.3 of a second, 0.4 at the split there. We've lost a driver, unfortunately. Through turn number 11 now, sorry. Eyre taking to the grass ever so slightly there on the left-hand side. Eyre, last time around was slightly faster than the last time around's race leader. Laguscas is now in second position. And I was saying the top two were starting to break away from the rest of the field. They were over a second clear, well, over a second and a half clear of everybody else now, but the gap now from Eyre to the man in second position, Laguscas, 0.68 of a second, then it's 0.9 of a second to Thilo in third, who has then a second over fourth place William Lima. Isaac Price, a few seconds down the road now in fifth position. There must have been a mistake from Isaac Price, or somebody sent it through the final corner there.
Yeah, we are looking at Matthias Pickarainen for Team Rock Racing. He's now up into 17th position after starting from the pit lane, as he did not pre-qualify for this race.
He was side by side with Gonzalez there.
I was going to say, speaking from the back, Nico Pantola as well, from a very average 15th position on the grid, is right on the back of this leading sort of 7. There's an 8-car breakaway at the front at the moment, which is rather remarkable to see. Please ignore his number plate, by the way, now he's on screen. Damn it, Nico. It's because I pointed out in last race his number plate said "Hi Mom," so now it's me. Thanks, Nico. Hi, Nico.
I don't want to ask questions. Anyway, as you say, an 8-car breakaway up in front. It's even, well, now starting to separate into groups of 4 cars each. Slightly at least, as Isaac Price has got a little gap to William Lima.
Keep an eye on the man in third position though, Yannick Thilo. He is currently the holder of the fastest lap, and he's approaching Laguscas at a rate of knots now. Across the line this time around, a 153.86.
Isaac under pressure. Isaac under pressure by Joe Holmes.
Is Joe Holmes going to get the cutback? The corner is just too tight, unfortunately. The battle rages on through.
Oh, down the inside, he sent it. Contact.
What a dive into turn number 2.
He had to go for it. The best way to make a move in this place is to surprise your opposition, and he was close enough to make the dive. It was maybe a bit ambitious, but good attempt from Holmes. A karting move says a karting move says the man that you can't hear, Pete Butcher, which probably is correct. Yes, karting move.
Our stream director today feeding his information. So Kake Proper now approaching the battle for 5th position. He's arguably closer to Joe Holmes now than Joe Holmes is to Isaac Price after the tussle into turn number 2, but it's not over yet. We're only on lap 6. We've got 45 laps here, 75 minutes roughly of racing. So we run on board now with the man in 7th position, car number 18, Kake Proper, in the FZR. Chasing down an XRR, chasing down an FZR. Through turn number 10. Who's going to get the run here? The draft amplified, arguably. Joe Holmes in the draft of Isaac, and Kake in the draft of Joe Holmes. So Nico Pantola, the gap behind is just 0.53 of a second. So the mirrored car of Isaac Price, the Nyan FZR, approaching this battle too. We're going to have a 4-way battle on our hands for 5th position.
Yes, at the moment it's a fascinating duel. Oh, there's that number plate again on screen. Brilliant. It's a fascinating duel at the front because the R2 XRs desperately need past Laguscas. I keep on saying his name differently today. I don't know why. I apologise again. Anyway, the two, Lima and Katia, desperately need past him because they will definitely be pitting. They should have a speed advantage at this moment. Whereas if you're running R3, you will not be pitting, and that's why he can afford to let the other two go. But why would he? That's the risk later in the race. Will you get a puncture? So it's fascinating at the moment watching these guys duking it out through this Aston North complex.
Well, this close train is happening through Sec 1 and 2. R2 Ilostalo out in the lead has a gap of 2.16 seconds to Laguskas, who's in second place. How long can he keep this pace up? Laguskas is not able to match your race leader Ilostalo's lap times. Ilostalo has taken the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:53.57. Now, a few blocks to that, Joni Katila, only 6/100ths of a second off of that fastest lap. He held the fastest lap just a few laps ago. He's in third position. You can see him. When we switch back to the front, he's just behind Laguskas now.
I wonder if Ilostalo might be earlier in the pits. The weight disadvantage for the FSR is bigger than the XR, and I wonder, comparing his pace to the likes of Isaac Price at the moment, whether he is running maybe a slightly lighter fuel load, maybe hoping to pit earlier and break away at the front. It's certainly working just now. We're on board now with Joni Katia, chasing second position as Ilostalo does a 1:53.56, but then Isaac Price out of nowhere. Suddenly Isaac Price does a fast lap race, 1:53.47. He clearly got a little bit of a wake-up call when Joe Holmes came a knocking.
He did, Isaac. The gap from 5th to 4th, William Lima. Isaac's got a little bit of clean air. The gap's 1.8 seconds, so you can see, obviously, without the draft, you're able to go a little bit faster.
We're watching a battle down for 11th position, Leibniz and Balla, Core Racing and Race Green Autosports. And also you can see right in front of those two, Nico Pantola, who fell back now into 10th position, it seems.
I think he's had a moment looking at the state of his rear tyres. I think he's had a moment in the fast complex, the sort of Eau Rouge Radion corkscrew area. He was certainly running right on the back of the top 7, so that's an unfortunate moment for Pantola.
Look at Vadoviot's on the outside of Daniel Balla now as we approach turn number 8. He's just not going to get alongside too much. He needs to be very careful as to not run wide. Has to check up mid-corner there just after hitting the apex. You can see the gaps increase now. He's running back into the grasps of the car in 14th position now.
Katia's having a go, and Lima's right with them as well. This is the battle for second position. Around the outside, can he make it stick? He can. That's brilliant. Yeah, that's an absolutely brilliant move from Joni Katia for second place. Absolutely clean as a whistle. A beautiful move. Can Lima follow it through? Brilliant respect by the two drivers there. That would have been so easy for them to shoot each other off into the barrier there, but no contact was made. Great respect, great racing, and that was absolute quality. That's exactly what Katia needed. Now we'll see his pace as Lima lines up for the run at third position now. Can he get it? He's going around the outside into the first corner. He's going right around the outside. That's going to be good on the exit, you'd imagine. Can he stick it into turn 2? He can, and I think Laguskas is going down from second to 4th position, and now Isaac Price is right with them as well. So Price, can he demote Laguskas down to 5th position? Great move there by Lima as well. No contact again from these boys. Complete respect shown by each of these drivers for each other, giving each other plenty of racing room.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic commitment there from Katila through the corkscrew. Both drivers giving each other ample room, and it's just great to see. It's so rewarding when you can see that they're on the absolute limit, but they still account for each other on track, and it's all respectful. Isaac Price now arguably has the best run he's had so far in Laguskas. He moves to the inside through to turn number 7. Is he going to make it stick? He does indeed as we turn into number 8. Isaac manages to just get the overlap done, tuck in, and hit his apexes now. What can he do? He's moved up to 4th position, arguably took an earlier apex and had to lift just before he got onto the power completely out of number 9 as we approach number 10 now. Laguskas, he's very, very close here. Obviously he's going to be hindered by the draft through turn number 10 now, but he did take a better line. He hit the apex a bit cleaner than Isaac did, and you can see Isaac reacting straight away, moving over to the right, as to say, right, you're not going to pass me, you're going to have to do it round the outside. Luguscas thinks better of it, doesn't want to mirror what Catilla did to him just a lap ago.
Well, he's in a good
Luguscas settles for
position,
5th place.
He's still in a good position actually, because he's still not that far behind the leaders, and he's clearly not planning to make a pit stop in this race, so he's not in a bad position by letting these guys through, not harming his tires. Joe Holmes there, you saw it on camera. I didn't see it on camera, but I saw it on the broadcast camera, very sideways in that chicane. But it's not looking too bad for him at the moment. He just needs to don't wear his tires by battling too hard. Let them make the moves. Don't defend. Don't scrub your tires and make them last in a competitive state at the end. Because all these guys in front of him definitely have to pit. They will lose a considerable amount of time. So, yeah. Very interesting.
Well, we're talking about unleashing Yanni Catilla and seeing what he's capable of. He's not quite as fast as his fellow Finn out in front, who has just taken the fastest lap once again. A 153.34 for your race leader, R2 Ilistalo. The gap between Ilistalo and Catilla, I'll let you know at the split, but I think at the line it was just over 4 seconds, 4.0 at split number 1, so Ilistalo's got some time to play with. We'll see if strategy comes into this. He's definitely going to want a little bit of a window when we start approaching the pit stops. We don't think anybody's going to be going to the end. We'll see, hopefully, a stop from everybody.
We look for 10th position, battle between the Aerotech newsroom car and the core racing car. Leibniz wanting to improve into a top 10 position, as we just get the information that car 95 gets a drive-through penalty for causing an avoidable incident. Car 95 used to be Marcelo Niva, who joined the spectators.
I wasn't sure where he was running. He did indeed, after receiving a drive-through penalty, decided to join the spectators. Now I would assume obviously that's him out of the race, but he might incur a penalty at the next round if he didn't join the spectators from the pit lane. Obviously would.
Still on board with Leibniz. Sean Lee in front of him.
Nico Puntola just in front of Sean Lee now. We're on lap 11. This is the battle for 10th, and as we approach Nico Puntola, arguably the battle for 9th position, we're seeing a lot of cars spreading out, a lot of cars bunching up. There's still plenty of action going on. We look back from Nico Puntola. Just behind, we've got a jostle for position now. Thwarted, unfortunately, as we leave turn number 3 under the Michelin bridge, round number 4.
I must say, everything from P9 onwards is still pretty close together after 11 laps in this race.
The last lap, Yostalo and Katia did the exact same lap time, so that is the pace at the moment that those two are showing. They are beginning to make little breaks away at the front. Yostalo, as Jack said, has a 4-second advantage at the moment. He will certainly have to pit in his FZR. This is, again, looking like a strategy race, everybody.
So your top 2 Finns at the moment, like Chris just said, holding exactly the same fastest laps. Got to be something in it somewhere. Who comes across the line? Catilla does a 53.30. Manages to extend his run of fastest laps now by 4/100ths of a second. Ilistalo last time around a 53.47, so just under 2/10 slower is Ilistalo, your race leader, from Catilla in 2nd position. If Catilla can keep this kind of pace up, we'll definitely see the gap come down. 2/10 a lap is a lot. 3.58 seconds now separates 1st and 2nd position. So it's come down quite considerably in a lap.
Currently,
William
the
Lima,
best
though.
sector times are held by 4 different people. Isaac Price best in Sector 1, which are the first hairpins. Then it's Kaiki Pirappo in Sector 2, Sector 3 Yoni Katila, and Arturo Stalo in Sector 4.
Yeah, we were saying Eyre Stalo is very, very fast through that final sector, even when he was approaching Lagoskas, who was the race leader at the time, the man down in 5th position currently. He just seems to he's ever so brave going through that corkscrew. Every single time he's with millimeter precision, he's hitting his marks, and you can't fault the man. But we're looking back from Sean Lee's car, the man in 10th position. He's got a race green Autosports badge on that FZR. Through number 10 now for the 12th time. This is the longest straight that we have. What can Light Next do from the outside? Sean Lee.
Ooh.
Oh, you can see how the draft has affected him. Hopefully he doesn't catch Daniel Ballett in the actual race green Autosports machine in 12th position. Slight checkup from himself. That is not ideal for him. You want to break away from the pack behind him. We might see a swap for 11th position if Leibniz can't get his head back down. Surely he'll bounce back from this, but you can just see how on the limit these guys are. Eyre Stalo responds to Katila with the fastest lap by some margin. So Katila last time around set a 53.30. Eyre Stalo out in the lead responds with a 53.01. So just under 3/10 faster than anybody else on the track, and arguably in the best position out in front now. The gap 4.3 seconds, so it increased by a second last time around.
Daniel Bala now really close to Andreas Leitnitz. Depending on how he can manage the gap to the core racing car, he might be able to strike heading into the corkscrew section. For now, Daniel seems to be hitting all the exits perfectly.
Yeah, arguably the hardest thing to do with the XRR is get on the power. It's got it's unique in the way the turbo spools up. He's also tighter through turn number 10. He's not close enough to make a move into 11, but like you said, through the corkscrew in the final sector, the slowest corner on the track, almost turn at number 13. As we look further back, we've got a three-way battle for 13th position. Pikkarainen in the lead at XRR. Through the corkscrew, followed by Igor. Very, very close as we approach turn number 13 now. Out of 13, it's all about getting the traction. You want the littlest amount, if not zero, wheel spin out of there. Obviously, at the slower corners, the aero doesn't work to your advantage. You don't have the huge amounts of air pushing that huge rear wing down that we're seeing on all three different cars that we have on track at the moment. Pikkarainen up to 13th position. He started at the back in the pit lane, so a huge gain of positions for him and an incredible run so far to find himself up into quite comfortably the top 15. Eyre Stalo again extending his fastest lap by 2/100 this time, the first driver to get into the 52s in this race so far. A 52.99 is the fastest lap we've seen so far.
Yes, I wonder if we might actually see lap times quicker than the qualifying time at the end of the stint, given the way that the speed tyres work. I wonder if we might get a 51 after all. I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't get a 51 in qualifying, but it seems as though Stalo certainly and Katia are certainly looking quicker than their qualifying pace suggests. This is very, very smooth driving in from Stalo. And now we pick up Pikkarainen on the move again. Now he's already caught up to the back of Bala.
Yeah, Leibniz and Sean Lee battle for 10th position. They're side by side now through split number 3. Contact almost
leaning
between
on
the
each
two.
other.
who's going to come out on top. They enter turn number 11 side by side.
Whoa,
Sean Lee
Sean
gets the
Lee.
overlap. Absolutely incredible commitment there on the outside. Arguably one of the narrowest parts of the track as well, and drivers both accommodating each other. Absolutely fantastic racing. Sean Lee into 10th position now. Better on the power through turn number 13 as well. Right next in the XRR just seemed to catch the curb ever so slightly and unsettled his car. Wasn't able to get the power down as cleanly. Pickerainen meanwhile is through into 12th position now. As ahead there's still almost side by side. Daniel Balla now demoted to 13th position in that race green Autosports machine, but it's far from over. These guys, if they can't get away from each other, they'll continue to bunch up and we'll see jostling for position throughout this race. We're only on lap 15. There's plenty of laps left and a couple pit stops to shuffle things up. Daniel Balla wide there out of turn number 3. That hindered his run under the Michelin bridge through 4. Look how close Eyre in the SNR is. He's looking all over the side of him. He's going to make the move, sends it up the inside.
Jesus.
They were millimeters apart at the apex there. Got to be careful. This, like I said, this is a long race, but drivers treating it like a sprint race. But respectful racing, no contact. However, it was mighty close.
That was a little bit too close for comfort there. You're always going to wash out when those two right-handers into your opposition if you're side by side there, and neither of them wanted to give each other an inch. So I'm very surprised that didn't end up in collision, to be honest. It was incredible.
You also have to keep in mind that everyone is on a different internet connection, and usually what you see is that the Energy Virtual racing drivers from Brazil are having at least some issues with higher pings, sorry, that way around.
Are we going to see a change for position for 11th place? Leipnex through the corkscrew, hindered by the run on the outside. Pickerainen, there's contact between the two. Pickerainen oversteer Eyre into the back of car number 8 there. They're going to be side by side across the line. Almost Leipnex just seems to be slightly faster, but it's not over yet as we approach turn number 1. Pickerainen chooses the outside line. Eyre, meanwhile, wants a piece of the pie. What's he going to do? The side by side now up to turn number 2. We're going to almost be 3 wide. Pickerainen thinks better of it. Wants to maximise his exit, arguably. What a fantastic run round the outside through turn number 2 now. Is he going to do it again through turn number 3? He chooses to brake. He's a wheel alongside Leipnex. This contact between the 3. Pickerainen is around. Pickerainen has been spun, and Eyre also having a moment there. Daniel Balla through now. There was contact between all of the drivers, really. Pickerainen dropping back the order now. He's in 19th position, so disaster for him through turn number 2. Hopefully he can recover. He's made such a brilliant effort so far in the 16 laps that we've had to make his way from the pit lane behind all the drivers and some up to, I think, the 13th position, or 12th was the highest he got. He's now in 19th position.
Yeah, unfortunately the Conquest car was battling Balla and then pulled a little bit of a Max Verstappen in China 2018 on Sebastian Vettel, where you're heading into a narrow corner, the double backs on itself, and the car in front, that's miles in front, is taking a slightly wider line, and because he was battling Balla, he just completely missed his braking zone and sideswiped Pickerainen, which is a real shame for Pickerainen because he has driven beautifully to get up into the outer reaches of the top 10. Now he's going to do it all over again. I get the feeling there's a very angry Finnish man in that XRR.
Just
Price, one thing we missed, Isaac Price has taken 3rd position away from William Lima. Unseen by our camera, Price had been catching. I think Lima must have made a mistake looking at his last lap time, but Price is ahead and up into 3rd position.
Yeah, also just behind these two, behind Lagurskas, Parque Parappo is catching up to the back of Joe Holmes as Joe Holmes slightly runs wide out of turn number 3 under the Michelin bridge. The gap between the two on the last split was 0.5 of a second. It's a lot less than that now. This is the part of the track there where Parappo will struggle to get past unless he can get a godlike run through turn number 6 across the second split. Parappo is the faster of the two on this lap by about 0.3 of a second, so Joe Holmes arguably not feeling too comfortable. He's not able to hit the lap times we know he's capable of. That gap might continue to come down. If Parque Parappo can keep on the back of him through turn number 9 and on the approach to number 10, if he can get the run we might see a change for position. Look at Holmes. He runs wide out of number 9 onto the grass. Doesn't hinder his run too much, but you will see him a couple Ks down at the apex of turn number 10. Arguably slightly wider than Piroppo, but I don't think Piroppo's close enough to challenge so far. You can see the car of Joe Holmes, number 36, red, white and blue machine, weaving in a straight line almost to try and not give Piroppo the draft that he wants.
It is off track. Thilo is bad damage left side.
Huge damage for our race leader as he comes back onto the track now. Gatilla moves past. Is Stalo going to commit to the pit lane? He does indeed. That's a disaster. We were saying how strong he is through turn number, it's the corkscrew, turn number 12, through that final sector. It's bitten this time, unfortunately, but like I said, millimeter precision, one either way, can cause you to hit the tyres and catastrophic damage for the man who's now in 7th position. Still holds the fastest lap. So we will get back to you when we know exactly what's happened, but for now, Gatilla is your race leader. He's a 3.26 gap over second place is Isaac Price. 0.86 of a second further back in third place is William Lima. And then Leguscas 3 seconds down the road has got Joe Holmes and Kaike Propo for company as the two battling for 5th position, as close as they've ever been. What can Kaike do from 6th position now? Light lift as we approach turn number 6. It has to be done when you're following a car very closely. The draft just doesn't give you that turn, and you'll find the car wants to understeer and doesn't want to stick to the track like it would if you were in clean air. Joe Holmes looks quite safe for now. He needs to get the best exit he can out of number 9. We saw him on the grass last time around. Managed to get a much better exit this time. We'll see how the drivers approach turn number 10, and if Kaike Piroppo is close enough, make a move for 5th position. Joe Holmes perfect apex through turn number 10. Kaike unable to close that gap anymore. I think the cars will stay in position for now.
Meanwhile, Arturo Thilo rejoined the race in 17th position after his 35.46 second pit stop for refueling, minor body damage, left front and left rear damage, and also all tires are changed.
So Stalo was incredibly lucky to have the accident where he did. Obviously it's not ideal for anybody to have an accident, but he didn't have to nurse the car very far to get into the pit lane. Isaac Price takes the fastest lap of the race now. The man in 2nd position has robbed Stalo of the fastest lap. 52.83 by the man in 2nd position. A 10.5 faster than the lap that we've seen prior by Stalo, who's unfortunately now down a bunch of positions.
I just looked at the replay of Stalo's crash. He basically caught the first apex a little bit too hard, touched one of the tyres, and that just spat him out into the second set of tyres on the right hand side and into the wall. Millimeters, that's all it was, millimeters of difference between right and wrong, and that's the difference between leading this race now in 17th position. I was wanting to say, Jack, we know that Kaike Piroppo can overtake, because let's not forget he was the one who made that dive bomb pass in at West Hill at turn number 2. I was speaking to him about that on Wednesday and asked him if he was planning to make a similar move, so let's see what happens as he goes up behind Joe Holmes again.
Yeah, he's tighter through turn number 10. We'll see Joe Holmes potentially adjusting his line on the straight to not give Piroppo the draft that he needs, but I think he knows he's safe for now. He needs to be a lot closer if he's going to make a move into number 11. We'll see who has the most commitment through the final sector. Holmes taking a little bit of the grass off of the left-hander just before turn number 12, and Piroppo was very, very loose there through the corkscrew of 12. The gap's increased ever so slightly. I think he did catch the tyre barrier with the left rear wheel arch, and it caused him to be a bit unsettled, so the gap's doubled almost. Kaike is going to need to regroup and get back at it. The gap, 1.57 seconds, separates 5th and 6th position. We're on lap 20 of 45, so we're almost approaching halfway in just a couple laps time. Isaac Price again extends his fastest lap by 4/100th of a second of 52.79 from the man in second position. The gap from Isaac to Catilla is just over 2 seconds. So far this lap, Isaac's first sector an 18.96 and Catilla out in the lead a 19.08, so a tenth and a bit. This lap Isaac is faster, a gap now down to 1.99 seconds. Nika Puntola, number 87, has made his pit stop. He rejoins the track now.
17.14 second pit stop for fuel and tires.
But no number plate change. So this is where we're beginning to get toward the pit stop points, I suppose, with the leaders as well. Katia will definitely pit, Price will definitely pit, Lima will definitely pit. Laguskas and Holmes, I don't think will pit. So it'll be down after the pit stops to those drivers to hunt those down. The gap between first and fifth is 7 seconds at the moment. So it's all in their favour for the guys who don't have to pit at the moment, so long as it's not too slow at the end of the stint. We obviously saw Isaac Price able to do that in the first 2 rounds of this season. He didn't pit, he just managed to stretch his tyres to go to the end. I think that's what these guys will be looking to do as well. They haven't lost too much time to the pitting leaders, so it's going to be very, very interesting to see how far the leaders go without pitting and how quickly they can catch the guys who are not pitting again. As we hit the pit window, Katia leading from Price. Price again, fastest lap of the race, 1:52.56. Takes another 0.4 of a second out of Katia's lead. It's down to 1.74 seconds. He's going to be right there very, very soon on the back of his old friend and nemesis from the whole of this season so far. It seems that these two have been right at the front, right in the thick of things. They obviously had contact at West Hill that sent them to the back. They then fought their way through together to finish first and second, and here they are again, first and second at Aston.
Yeah, but this time around the order is switched up. So while Yanni was second at the end of round 1 and 2, he's first right now.
As we see, Kaike Propo in 6th position. Now you saw the gap between him and Joe Holmes just a few laps ago. It was over 2 seconds. Now it's 0.45 of a second. So Joe Holmes, a couple of mistakes. I was on board with him, looking at him through the remainder of last lap and the start of this. He's making just these tiny little mistakes, just a foot either way of, you know, the wrong side that he needs to be, as he runs slightly wide out of turn number 9, and this is arguably the closest Kaike Purapo has been to the back of Joe Holmes' XRR. As we move through turn number 10, Joe Holmes seems to carry a little more speed through there, but he takes the longer line by going further away from the apex. He's safe this time around, but Purapo needs to nail turn number 12, which is where we saw the slight mistake from the driver last time around. Joe Holmes just absolutely doing everything he can to take the fastest line through turns 11 and 12 as we approach number 13 now. Holmes earlier on the brakes. This is where he ran wide last time around. You just caught the grass, and look how much faster Kaike Purapo is than Joe Holmes. Joe Holmes into the pit lane now. So Kaike up into 5th position. Joe Holmes in for his pit stop. Where's he going to come out?
There goes
I
our
wasn't sure if
suspicion.
Holmes was going to pit. He is. It's confirmed now.
Well, I'm very surprised at that, given he was an R2, R3 setup. So the way to go was certainly R2, R2 for XR or R3, R3. So will they all pit? This will be interesting to see whether Lagauskas has to pit as well. But interesting. It's very early for an XR to pit as well. Surprised at that.
And he rejoins the track right behind Sean Lee and in front of Leibniz. So for those interested in other things, we just have had a liftoff in for the demo 2. So the SpaceX project is up in the air.
It didn't catch fire this time, did it, Thilo?
No.
Bob and Doug are on their way to space now. They're actually a lot faster than the guys are on track.
Yeah,
1700 kilometers an hour is the demo 2 SpaceX machine. Absolutely flying through the stratosphere. It's going to set the lap record here.
The annoying thing is they can't even hear Pete's cheek either, can they? So they just like it's just us that can hear Pete saying it only went on fire where it was meant to. Yes, I understand how a rocket works, Pete. Thank you.
Our stream director Pete Butcher giggling away as we watch. On Attila is the man on screen, the man out in front. That's his personal best so far of 52.97. Not quite fast enough to take Isaac's fastest lap away, which is a 52.56 now. The gap's definitely coming down now. 1.38 seconds separates Isaac, the man in second position, from your race leader, Yannick Attila.
Just a quick note on Joe Holmes' pit stop. He just chose to take a new set of tires, so no refueling. While right behind him, Igor is now making a move on Leibniz. After Leibniz had a bit of a struggle through the last corner. It looks like Fernando Igor from Brazil is now up in 9th position.
So I wonder if off screen Joe had an incident then. But did he repair damage, Thilo?
No, he did not. Only tires.
Okay, well, I'm currently confused then.
So Igor moves to the right of Holmes. There's contact between the two now through turn number 7. He was looking for the move, was number 48, Igor, in 9th position. It's not able to get on the inside of Joe Holmes this time around. Like I said, these cars all bunching up, and Holmes was struggling on the exit of the corners before he switched tyres. I don't think his tyres are up to peak temperature yet, but you can just see how much faster Igor is. The man in 9th position had to lift out just before he turned into turn number 10. He has got a lot more speed than the number 36 car of Joe Holmes. We're going to be close through the final sectors. We approach turn number 11 now. Leibniz in close pursuit in the XRR in 10th position, just watching this battle in front unfold. Igor took a little bit of the grass through the left-hander of the later part of turn number 11 before we approached the corkscrew turn number 12. Joe Holmes was struggling on the exit of 13, and that's where we saw, was it Piroppo, make a move on him. The sister car to Igor, who's now in pursuit of Joe Holmes in 9th position.
Joe Holmes has got R2, R3 still on. So he chose to stick to his favorite combination of tires.
Yeah, this is why I'm confused by Joe's strategy, because the R2 R3 I would have thought would have gone longer than the R2 R2, so that's what makes me think something must have gone wrong at some point. Now that he's in the midfield, he's losing time because he's going to have to battle these guys like Lima, who's still looking for ways around him, and he's going to potentially use his tyres up a little bit more than he would have previously done so. So a little bit surprised at the strategy again, but we'll see how it works out in the end for Joe Holmes.
We've got a slow car, number 80, Zanella. He seems to have had a big impact, can't really turn into the corners now. Is at the exit of the corkscrew.
He's got two front punctures. That's what the problem is. That's why he can't turn. He's got both of his front tires are punctured.
Yeah, he was
So
incredibly close as the race leaders went through. Just before we picked up on that, Isaac Price almost taking evasive action into turn number 11, the very fast right-hander at the end of the long straight there in sector 3. So the gap between your race leader and the man in second position is 1.67 seconds, and then Isaac Price has a 4-second window to William Lima in 3rd position. The top 3 separated by 5.67 seconds at the moment, and after 25 laps, that's not a lot. we will see the drivers closer together again once the pit stops have been completed by the top 3 drivers. As Leipzig's pits. Curious to see what he takes, if it's tyres or just tyres and fuel. He does not repair damage, I don't think.
Tires and fuel, 16.91 second pit stop.
He rejoins, I think, in 17th position. The battle for 8th place, arguably 7th place, rages on. Joe Holmes
Lee lost
defending
speed
from Igor. Sean Lee in 7th position in that FZR. Just up ahead of these two by just over half a second. Doesn't get the best exit out, runs slightly wide out of number 8, and the gap will come down even more. Igor, we know, is a lot faster than Holmes in a straight line, whether that's down to setup or the added draft as well. He's able to tuck in behind Joe Holmes through the tight and twisty sector 1 and 2. Igor with a great row out of turn number 10. But Joe Holmes has the draft of Sean Lee in 7th position. So he's not as much of a sitting duck as he would be if he was in clean air himself. Through turn number 11, everyone hitting the mark, so to speak. Through turn number 12, Holmes was tighter through the left of 12 than any other of these 2 cars that's involved in this battle. Igor seems to be able to brake a lot later than the 2 cars ahead of him into turn number 13, but it's the exit that makes the difference here. The run through and onto the start-finish straight as we start lap number 26.
Whoa!
Joe moves to the inside, a dummy move almost, and he does overshoot it. Can Sean Lee get the cutback? He does indeed. They're still side by side though. It's not over.
Still.
Sean has a little bit of the overlap. He breaks in a straight line, but keep an eye on Igor. Look at that, a switchback attempt moved. That was contact between the 2, and Joe Holmes blaring the horn there. That was not very kind at all from the number 48. Joe Holmes retaliates a huge dive through turn number 3, and I mean, you could arguably say fair enough, but Igor's going to lose out now to car number 19. Igor down in 10th position, as Alonso would say. Karma. We'd like to see it clean, guys, but you get what you're given.
There are more and more cars that seem to get punctures at this point, which I'm surprised at. Another car coming into the bits of Arujo making its way with front punctures as well. So these tyres seem to be a little bit more on the limit for some of these drivers than I thought that they would. There were certainly drivers going 38 laps, as Isaac Price does another fast lap of the race, 152.43. There were drivers saying that they could manage 38 laps on R2R2 setups earlier, so I'm slightly surprised at the amount of punctures we're seeing so far and the early pit stops. Katia and Price, no sign of them coming in the pits as of yet, separated by 1.16. Lima 5.5 seconds further behind these 2 top runners.
Now Igor, the man in 10th position, chasing down the number 19 machine in 9th position, was very, very close, approaching the corkscrew, but a mistake from Igor meant that he had to drop back a bit. But number 19, not the greatest run out of 13 as they almost run side by side. What's Igor going to do? He switches to the inside late on the brakes. Is he going to get it stopped and slowed down? Yeah, he does catch the grass there. You can see how it's hindered his exit of that corner. It drops back even more. Just a meter too late on the brakes there. That's the difference between hitting the apex, well, reasonably, and running wide by some margin. So Igor's dropped back quite significantly now. The gap to Joe Holmes from Igor, a couple positions ahead, is 4.51 seconds, and he struggles through turn number 3. Yep, so he struggled through turn number 3. He locked up massively, like you said, Chris, and he's got to nurse that round the track now. He's going to be hindered in these very high speed corners that we're approaching now. He struggled significantly, and the left-handers, obviously, with that puncture being on the front right, it's where all the weight is through the left-handers.
Yeah, I think he was driving a little bit angry in some of those moves after the incident with Joe Holmes, and he's hit the wall now. Unfortunately, he's got no chance really of holding that car. He's got to wait now for everybody coming past safely. Now he can go, Igor. as we go back on board with our race leader, Yoni Katia, as the gap continues to come down between himself and Isaac Price.
Yeah, Catilla was faster than Isaac last time around. But the gap still remains around about 1.5 seconds, and it has done for the last 6 or 7 laps. So far this lap, Catilla is the slower of the two drivers by just over 1/10. Catilla so far through split 1 at 19.08, Isaac at 18.94, so the man in second place faster this time around so far.
I must say this is very impressive from Yoni Katia. I spoke to him this morning. He hadn't been to bed yet, and he was all annoyed because he didn't think he'd be able to qualify very well, but he thought he had a little bit of a better race setup, and he didn't qualify well. He was right, and once he eventually went and slept, he still didn't qualify very well, but this has been a very, very impressive drive from his grid position to be leading this race at well over the halfway point now. He's been competitive throughout the whole of this season. I think he does certainly deserve a little bit more luck than he received in the last race. Is today going to be his day to beat Isaac?
Oh, we're over the half race distance mark, so it actually looks good for him so far.
Yeah, Catilla coming up on the lap car of Eyre now. The FXR through the corkscrew. Hopefully this doesn't hinder his run too much. He's going to potentially get backed up to Price. Look how close they are. There's contact between the two. Weber just so early on the brakes, it caught Catilla off guard. Nowhere to go but into the back of the FZR. Isaac Price is now going to leapfrog Weber and arguably be closer to Catilla than he was last time around. The gap at the line, 1.44 seconds. Catilla last time around a 53.44 and Isaac Price a 53.37, so 6/100th of a second. Sorry, 7/100th of a second, Mike.
Whoa! Contact! Between Holmes and Lee down the straight there, both of them moving around an awful lot. Holmes probably a little bit, I think he's driving quite angrily at the moment, because that's not normally a Joe Holmes move that he just made there. I get the feeling something's not gone right for Joe Holmes this afternoon to be making that sort of moves on Sean Lee, but Holmes retains 6th position ahead of Lee, who drops back now.
So the gap at the front continues to come down. The gap from Catilla to Isaac Price, I think just before it disappeared off my screen, it was around about 1.17 seconds. So it was 1.4 a few laps ago. Isaac still continues to close the gap to the race leader. He is again faster this lap by about 3/10. Catilla, as we cross split number 3 at 1:19.74. The gap 1.01 and Isaac on 1:19.31. So half a second almost this time around is Isaac Price faster than Catilla through 11 and the corkscrew of 12. Isaac just so much more committed to that throttle pedal through turn number 12. All about the exit out of 13 onto the straight. Look how much the gap's come down. I think Catilla's committing to the pit lane. He is indeed. So Catilla from the race lead makes his pit stop. Isaac out in front for now as we start lap number 30 of 45.
I was about to say we've missed the similarly shod R2R2 car of William Lima coming into the pits and rejoining in 12th position. No surprise then that Katia is in the pits now. Price should be able to go a few more laps with his harder rear compound tyre. Not too many more, I wouldn't imagine. I think that he won't want to stretch this too long. He's got to actually get the tyres past the peak again at this track once he comes out of the pit lane, so it'll be fascinating to see if he can now put the hammer down and get a little bit of a gap. He needs the gap, of course, because the FZR takes longer in the pit lane than the XR, an advantage that for Katia. So not only will Katia have the advantage of going through the heat peak quicker, while Price tries to build a gap over him so he can come out ahead after his longer pit stop. So this is going to be fascinating. This is where this race could be won or lost. Katia has come out behind Lagauskas, so Lagauskas in a good position still. The gap between them is
13.37 seconds at the split there.
And Lagauskas has been getting quicker and quicker as this the last few laps have been going on, so he is in a good position at the moment, but I think he will get caught toward the end. 15 laps to go, we're at 2/3 distance, and we are in the middle of pit stops, and we're in the middle of understanding how this strategy is all going to play out. Price at the moment will be in very, very shortly. Katia is starting to close in on second position, and that is where this race could be won or lost. How quickly can he get there? He needs a second a lap. I don't think he's going to get it right now. I think he'll get it later on in the stint. So it's going to be the last 5 laps again, I think, gents.
We've had a retirement from the race as well during the pit stop window. So after Catilla joined the pits, Victor Veloso stopped, Gonzalez stopped, Mead stopped also. But I noticed there that Igor joined the spectators. So has he parked that car? I believe he has. After the puncture that he received after outbraking himself into turn number 1, limped around the lap and stopped for new tyres. And I don't think he'll continue in this race now.
Katila's pit stop, by the way, for refueling and tires, 17.24 seconds.
24 cars remain on track, and the fastest of them all is Mr. Isaac Price, the man out in the lead. No surprise. Extends his fastest lap again by just under a tenth of 52.35 from the man out in the lead. So we've got Pirroppo and Sean Lee both spinning out there. Where is that?
Sean Lee back in direction, Pirroppo
It's
now.
the Eau Rouge.
The corkscrew. As we lose Zanella from the race too, car number 80. So Sean Lee in 8th position. So, stream director's letting us know, because we missed it. You guys saw it. Ike Pirroppo was into the back of Sean Lee after a bad rejoin. Pirroppo now down in 11th position. He's on the back of Marky Homela's XRR through turn number 2 now on lap 31 of 45. Deep into the race now.
I'll tell you who's had a quiet, neat little race is Veloso, who's currently in 5th position, charging at the back of Joe Holmes. He's made his pit stop already, and he's in a consistent 5th position at the moment. That's been a neat little race for him. And he seems to be catching Joe at the moment, so this is going to be a very interesting battle. Stalo is beginning to catch up to where he should be again after his incident earlier. He is 6 seconds behind these, so he still might be able to get a top 4 out of this race yet, despite his incident where he went off while he was leading. As Isaac Price goes quicker, I think, than his qualifying laps, so 52.26 for our race leader, building the gap that he needs, or will need, because his pits will be longer than Gatia's. It's going to be very interesting.
We're on board with Victor Veloso. He's catching up with Joe Holmes there. 1.08 seconds between the two XRR.
Joe Holmes was just a couple of tenths slower than the man in pursuit last time around. Holmes with a 56.5 and Veloso with a 56.3. Through the split number 1, 4/100th of a second separates the cars on this lap. Veloso, car in pursuit, slightly faster than Holmes in 4th position. The gap will continue to come down if Veloso can keep this pace up. He's doing incredibly well to be in 5th position. The gap 1.13 seconds at the moment. Through split number 2, Holmes slightly faster. 5/100th of a second faster, so he's made the time up that he lost in sector 1 through split number 2, which is in between turn 6 and 7. Isaac stays out again in the race lead. He's on lap 33 now and is yet to stop across the line of 53.30, 4/100th of a second slower than he went around last time, but still the fastest man on track by some margin.
But I guess he will do his pit stop in the next couple of laps, because he is approaching a bigger group of cars and you don't want to pass that before doing a pit stop. Lagutska is currently having a gap of 14 seconds to Katila. 12
This is
laps
working
to
out very
go.
nicely. This is working out very nicely for him at the moment. I think at the moment Katia's not catching, but when his tires get cold at the end, that's when it's going to really cause issues for him. And that's when we will see who's going to win this race. He is in the Isaac Price position today. He is trying to extend his stint and go to the end. Will we have a dramatic final corner as we had at West Hill? Maybe not this time.
Well,
I wouldn't discount the corner before the final corner, though. That corkscrew has already given us a lot of drama so far this race, and there's still the remainder of this, and is it 12 or 13 more laps to go? Plenty of times for things to unfold. We've not seen a safety car yet. Don't want to give it the curse of the commentator, but
don't say it.
that would throw a spanner in the works if everyone was grouped up.
Price pits.
So from the lead, Isaac Price, a number 99 machine, on his way into the pits.
So he's got a gap of 30.74 seconds to Yoni Katia, but I think he's going to come out behind, but we will see. He's been absolutely rapid in these last few laps, trying to put a gap. The car is being serviced at the moment. Will he have the opportunity? Katia is coming toward the final corner. He is out of the final corner. Price is still not moved. He moves now. Katia had issues with back markers. It's going to be very, very close. In fact, I think Price actually might just have had it despite the longer pit stop. I think he's going to emerge ahead, and Isaac Price is into second position. So he is now the man who is chasing after Lagauskas, who leads this race on his R3 non-stop strategy from the pole position. He's been a bit like the turtle today, despite his fast pace in qualifying. He is a 9-second lead over Price with 11 laps to go. Isaac Price needs to put the hammer down. Does he have the pace in the car when the tyres are going through the heat peak to catch the leader?
Isaac's pit stop actually was 1/6 of a second shorter than Katia's. So the more laps and thereby less fuel he had to take in really benefited him.
The gap between the two guys out in front, Vitatas Lagauskas and Isaac Price, is very similar than it was earlier around the lap, just under 9 seconds, but the gap's coming down ever so slightly. Split times aren't anything to go on when Isaac Price is on his out lap. Obviously, it's staggered quite a bit due to the pit lane exit and the line differences. But I'll let you know the gap again. Lagauskas already gone through split number 2. Isaac approaching the line between turn number 10 and 11. The gap is 8.80 seconds, so it's come down 9/100ths of a second since split number 1.
It's going to be down to Lagauskas' tyres more than Price's pushing ability, because they are beginning to get cold. He is having to work them quite hard. They are a hard compound tyre. Thankfully, there are plenty of corners on this track where he can gain heat in the tyre so they don't lose too much of a temperature. He's running in the mid 1 minute 53s at the moment. If he maintains that pace, that's going to be the key thing. He's lapping a little bit slower than he was at his prime during this stint. Then he has a good chance, but we will know within the next few laps whether Price has the opportunity to catch him or not, because the Lagauskas' tyres will be going off, and that is the key thing to this race. Can he hold on with those worn, hard tyres?
I'm just looking at the name list now for the positions. We're missing a driver. What's happened to William Lima? I saw that just before Isaac Price made his pit stop, William Lima, number 14 in the XRR, he joined the spectators, so we missed what happened to him. Now down to 23 cars that remain in this race.
That's a real shame. He drove really well in the first stint. Something must have happened to him to take him out of this race. He drove really, really well in that first stint to be right up there with the leaders. It feels like such a long time ago that we had 8 cars within 5 seconds, but the field is certainly spread out during the remainder of that stint. And now it seems as though it's going to be one of 3 potentially to win this race. Can Lagauskas hold on for his first victory? Can he deny Isaac Price?
You're currently watching the man in 4th position, Joe Holmes, on screen. He's in close pursuit. Victor Veloso is hunting him down. The gap was 0.78 of a second at the last split number 2. Come down quite a bit more. Veloso just seems to be able to carry much more speed through the long flat out section of Sector 1 and 2. We are approaching the third split line. The gap will update accordingly. So, split number 3 across the line, 0.91 seconds separates 4th and 5th. We look back from Joe Holmes now at the number 10 machine, piloted by Victor Veloso, the Brazilian for Energy Virtual Racing. What can he do from 5th position? Joe Holmes has a lapped car to contend with, number 57. That's the man in 23rd position. He will have blue flag on his screen. He does go wide. Joe Holmes makes his way through. Victor Veloso will follow. Joe Holmes very, very close to the gravel there on the outside of 13, using all of the track. Victor Veloso will be aided by the draft of the back marker down the straight. The gap's 0.69 of a second. We might see a move on this lap, gents.
Well, the gap actually has disappeared after lapping the Latvian Army racing team car.
Yep, so at 0.69 at the line across split number 1. The white line that drivers have just crossed is 0.61 of a second, so it's come down quite a lot. You can see at the very, very slow corners, the drivers almost, the gap is shrank considerably.
We also have a battle for 7th position. Sean Lee defending from Matthias Mackie Harmler.
Harmler chose to let the brakes off just a little bit through turn number 3, has to not run into the back of Sean Lee's FZR. Through turn number 6 we go. The gap across split number 2 is 0.47 of a second. What can Mackie Harmler do from 8th position?
Price has enough time at this current speed. He's 7/10 of a second up after the first 3 splits on Laguskas. It's going to be under 7 seconds at the end of this lap with 8 laps to go.
So we approach number 10 now. The battle for 7th place rages on. Mackie Harmler, closest he's been to Sean Lee this lap, faster through number 10. And is Sean Lee going to move over to the right side to defend his position? He does, but it chooses to do so quite late. Mackie Harmler with the overspeed. They run side by side now, approaching turn number 11. Is Mackie Harmler going to get the move done? He does indeed get the overlap. Takes his apex as he would, and look at the gap. It's increased quite significantly so far, but what can Sean Lee do through the corkscrew? Comes back ever so slightly at Mackie Harmler now on the brakes. Hard for turn number 13. It's all about the exit here. Mackie Harmler with an admirable exit. The man who's taken 7th position away from Sean Lee. Is he going to drive away now? Across the line, Mackie Harmler a 154.15 and Sean Lee a 155.22. So Mackie Harmler over a second faster than Sean that time around, as Sean slightly on the grass there out of turn number 1. We look forward to Yanni Cotilla, the man in 3rd place. The gap to him from Isaac Price is around about 7.5 seconds. Isaac has made his pit stop and he's hunting down Vitatas Laguskas, the number 69 machine, out in front. The gap was 8.89 seconds when Isaac left the pits at split 1. It's now 7.11 seconds. And with this and 9 laps remaining, or 8 laps remaining, sorry, what can Isaac do from 2nd position?
Laguskas definitely firing up his engine again as he's doing personal best split times. Also, one thing, Laguskas is the only car on the track without a pit stop, apart from Sean Lee.
But like you were saying there, Thilo, Vitatas Laguskas setting personal best sectors that lap. He's actually set his personal best lap time of the race across the line there of 53.14. Unfortunately, Isaac is just so much faster. He's still in the 52s. The fastest lap from Isaac, 52.26. Last time around, I think it was a 52.9. So, 0.2 faster than your race leader, Laguskas at the moment. The gap, 7.12 seconds. Isaac Price now has an 8-second gap to Yanni Cotilla in 3rd position.
Yeah, it's the old fable of the tortoise and the hare, isn't it? That's what we've seen throughout the GT2 Challenge season so far, usually it's been Isaac Price that's been the tortoise, and usually it's been the likes of Yoni Katia and Joe Holmes that have been the hare, but today Isaac Price is the hare and Lagukas is the tortoise. Can he hold on in the same way that Price has? He's upped his pace in the last few laps, you say, boys, and it looks good at the moment, as long as his tyres don't deteriorate by too much heading into these final few laps. Sean Lee is in the pits, so he couldn't make his tyres go the whole way. Thilo, it's now just one driver who hasn't pitted.
And looking at his tyres, they are actually in a decent condition. They are rather happy compared to what we've seen at this stage in the race in West Hill.
Yes, of course, he's using R3 front tyres as opposed to at West Hill where they were using R2s. So it just feels as though there's a little bit more give for him for this final period, and it feels as though unless they get ultra cold and ultra worn, that they're going to hang on. But the gap is now down to 6.32 seconds. Isaac Price bringing it down all the time.
He's got to keep bringing it down quite significantly. Also, we've got this lap and 6 more. The gap is 6.3 seconds. Isaac has got to be considerably faster than the number 69 machine pilot by Vitatas Laguskas out in the lead. Not only has he got to be faster and close up to the back of Laguskas, he also has to make the move and make it stick. He's running out of time. So unless Isaac gets a second wind and starts lapping again in the low 52s, or Laguskas starts to struggle even more on those worn tyres, I think it's going to be quite the feat for Isaac to gain 6.2 seconds in the remainder of this and 6 more laps.
But I would suspect that now Laguskas and Price have clean air in front of them for the rest of the race, as they've lapped just Jürgen Weber, and there's quite some gap until the next car to be lapped, Borislav Botev in 19th position.
Yeah, Laguskas on them worn tyres will be glad that he's in clean air, which means the downforce will help him and his tyres won't have to work as hard. Obviously, if you're in the draft of somebody else, you don't have the added benefit of your wings pushing the car into the floor, so your tyres have to work harder. Laguskas round in the final corner as Isaac makes his way up to the final corner also. When we cross this line, it will be 6 laps to go. So Laguskas across the line at 1 minute 53.56. Isaac Price needs to be around about 8 tenths faster. It's a 53.04, so just over half a second faster that time around. The gap's down to 5.8 seconds as we have 6 laps remaining. So Isaac does need to be around about 0.9 of a second faster per lap just to even catch to the back of Laguskas in the race lead. Never mind make the move for the lead of the race in the closing stages.
Yeah, Price is just finishing off his heat peak at this moment, so we might see some blistering times within the next couple of laps, because of course he's come out of the pits again, he's got lower fuel, so it'll be less of a run through to get to the optimum temperature for the tyres. So the next few laps are where we're going to see, I think, whether Price can make the time up. If he can dip into the mid 52s as you suggest, there's a chance, but it does look good for Laguskas at the moment. Laguskas.
So Eyre Stahler now in 6th position, pursuing down Victor Veloso, the man in 5th. As you watch on the screen, approaching turn number 5 now for the 40th time this race. What can Eyre Stahler do? The man who was out in the race lead at the very early stages of the races before he encountered some damage at turn number 12, the corkscrew, which we said he was so good at. He just seemed to be so much faster than everybody else on track through that part of the lap earlier on. Aims to back out through turn number 8, charging his run up through turn number 9. He's got a straight here to close up to the back of Victor. He needs to be tight through turn number 10 and maximise his run down the straight through split 3. What can he do from 6th position now? Doesn't seem to carry as much speed. He's definitely too far back to make a move this time around, but the gap is 0.7 at the split. I'll let you know what it is at the line. Continue down the straight through turn number 11 now, the fast right-hander. Ties your car up, get it in the perfect position to attack the corkscrew. Turn number 12 now. This is the place I was saying that Ilostalo seems to be significantly faster than anybody else through. He held the purple split through the sector earlier in the race. Not sure if he still does as the lapped car gets out of the way through turn number 13. Through the kink of 14 and across the line to start lap number 41. The gap's 0.25 of a second, so it's come down 6/10 almost. Vince split 3 of lap 40. Ilostalo is in the best position he's been in so far to take 5th position away from Victor Veloso. Slight bit of oversteer from Veloso out of turn number 2. What can Ilostalo do now as we approach turn number 3? Very close.
Ooh.
Seems to cut the apex, but that's bit him because of how sharp the curbs are there through turn number 3. Needs to regroup again under the Michelin bridge through turn number 4 now. Hopefully he doesn't suffer too much with the lack of front end grip, robbed by the draft, of course, of Victor Veloso. He's not as close as he was last time around, so he should be slightly faster through this section. But if he's going to make a move, he's running out of time.
Update on the gap for the lead, 4.39 seconds.
Yes, Price is suddenly Price has got the hammer down, and he's suddenly making the time. As I suspected, he's out the heat peak now, and he is making up. He's made up over 2.2 seconds in the last 2 and a bit laps. So he is now on target again to at least have a go on the final lap. 53.6 for the Gaucus, 52.6 for Isaac Price, down to 4 seconds exactly with 4 laps to go.
So almost a second faster was Isaac Price than your race leader Vitatas Laguskas last time around. The gap at the line, 4.09 seconds, as we have exactly 4 laps remaining. If Vitatas struggles with his tyres even more, obviously Vitatas will be slower. We know Isaac is only going to get faster.
Ilostalo now again looking for the 5th position. Victor Veloso defensive into turn 1. The Finn trying to do the switch back, but now has the outside for the 2nd hairpin. Victor Veloso to the inside again. Side by side into the 3rd. Now don't cut the corner there, that's not really working. Here you go. 5th position for Arturo Ilostalo.
Brilliant racing from those two, giving each other adequate room. That's what we like to see.
I was going to say, Thilo there showing what he would be like as a teacher.
As a car goes off in front of them.
That's Joe Holmes in 4th position. Car number 36, he's lost quite a bit of time there. It won't hinder him too much. He was able to rejoin the track and carry on, but he's got some right rear damage now. Wonder if he clouted anything. It didn't look like it. He might have picked that up somewhere else on the track earlier in the race.
Maybe he hit the undulation there a little bit badly.
Oh, Ilostalo, if he's on a charge and Joe Holmes is struggling again on those tyres, Ilostalo could find himself in 4th position before the race is over. Meanwhile, at the front, Laguskas last time around, a 53.47. Isaac Price again in the 52s, but it's a 52.6, so 0.8 of a second faster for Isaac Price. The gap, 3.26 seconds as we approach 3 laps to go. This and 2 more. Isaac's going to need to pull something out of the bag. He's got to be over a second faster than Laguskas for the remainder of this race to even get in a position to take the lead away from Vitatas, car number 69, who has not stopped yet.
Down to 2.8 in the first sector alone. This format has given us such interesting races right the way through. Each race has had its own person trying to stretch a stint.
So we're running side by side now. The battle for 4th position. Joe Holmes was slightly out of shape through number 1. Ilostalo was alongside on the outside through turn number 2, and again on the outside as we approach turn number 3. Can Joe Holmes park it on the apex? Ilostalo is going to try around the outside anyway. Just runs out of track. Has to slot in behind Joe Holmes now under the Michelin bridge through turn number 4 for the 43rd time. Ilostalo will take this position from Joe Holmes if he can keep carrying the pace that he has been carrying for the last couple of laps. He's made his way around. Victor Veloso is now down in 6th position, dropping back. Victor Veloso is 0.7 of a second behind Arturo Ilostalo, and the gap to Joe Holmes ahead is 0.37 of a second.
1.85 seconds at the front. Lagauskas has had a poor lap. I think his tyres are gone. Price is now within. He could smell him in these last couple of laps. This is exactly what's happened in every single race. There's been somebody charging and somebody trying to extend the stint the best they possibly can just to get to the finish. Lagauskas, he could see Price in his rearview mirrors eating that gap up like a shark coming for you through the water. That big blue car is getting closer, and the dread will begin to feel coming from his how he will be feeling at the moment, because he knows that Price has got better tyres. He knows he's got the pace to pass him, but can he defend? Can they do anything to put him off in these last couple of laps?
Lagauskas really struggling. A 54 lap from him, Isaac in the 52, so something's happened to Lagauskas. His tyres have just dropped off. Sorry to interrupt you there, Chris. You can carry on now. I just wanted to point out the difference in lap last time around. 0.8 of a second separates Lagauskas from Isaac Price now in pursuit. We knew this would come down to the wire, but Isaac's definitely managed to keep his pace, and Lagauskas just can't do that now. We might see a change of position on this lap, never mind the next lap. So Isaac has the remainder of 44 and the lap 45 to get this move done and sealed.
I was going to say, it's all about the traction zones for Lagauskas. If he can cover this next corner here in a good way, then he should be able to hold on off Price in the left right and keep enough of a gap before the only real major overtaking place, the right left, which we've seen so many great racing on during this race. He has enough of a gap. He's going to lead into the final lap, but can Price do enough to get him? He's coming all the way, quicker at all moments. The gap now, as we approach a yellow flag zone, two cars in the wall in front of the straight. What on earth's happened here? Oh, there's a car car coming back on the track in a bad way. Wow. Sean Lee the other. Sean Lee in front of these two. So these two will have traffic on the last lap. So Sean Lee has had a disaster since his pit stop, really. Don't know what happened there.
Yeah, Isaac was incredibly fast through that turn number 12 corkscrew. This is the closest he's been. He's got the run out of turn number 13 through the kink of 14 and across the line for the penultimate time. Isaac moves to the inside. Lagauskas does not defend. Who's going to come out on top? Isaac will hit his apex. He's not going to run deep. Lagauskas can't quite get the cut back, and that's a change for the lead. So Isaac Price takes the lead on lap number 45, the first turn on the final lap. Needs to keep this pace up, and you would have thought that he will. What's happening further back now? Ilustalo and Joe Holmes coming through the final corner. Victor Veloso for company now. The battle for fourth rages on.
The headline will be, if Isaac Price makes it to the end of this race and he wins this race, that Isaac Price has won all three races in this series so far. However, each of them have been each individually different. It's unbelievable. Everybody's being held up here.
Yeah, if Isaac is hindered by the FZR of Sean Lee, number 88, in front of him, that could give Lagauskas a slight breath of fresh air and attempt to regroup from second position, but Sean Lee moves out of the way through turn number 9, and Isaac was very, very loose on the exit there. Lagauskas will close the gap. Is he close enough though? Does he have the grip through turn number 10 to load that car up? He does indeed. The apex speeds of the two is very similar. We could see a potential move here. Isaac Price moves across to the right to cover up the inside for turn number 11. He moves back over to the left to take his line. Breaking into turn number 11. Is Lagauskas close enough? Last time around, Isaac Price was incredibly fast through turn number 12. Is he going to get it right this time? Isaac Price absolutely sends it through the chicane there of turn number 12, the corkscrew, and you can see the gap just slightly increases. But through the final corner now, on the traction, Isaac Price will take the win, the third win so far in the GT2 challenge here at Aston North AS7. Weaving across the line, he takes the checkered flag, Isaac Price. 1 hour, 28 minutes, 32.46 seconds, and only half a second separated number 99 Isaac Price and number 69 Vitatas Lagauskas at the line.
This series should be renamed The Tortoise and the Hare. Every single race we've had this season has had a tortoise trying desperately to get over the line as a hare chases them down. It's usually been Isaac Price that's been the tortoise. Today, he was the hare. Well, for most of the race, I don't know what happened at the start. But anyway, It's unbelievable. Isaac Price wins again. The headliners say is, "Oh, Isaac Price wins again." But every single race has been completely different when you watch it. Every race has been tense to the finish, and he's won every single one in a different way. And that race again was top quality. We saw some unbelievable driving out there today from everybody, and plenty of great racing room left by everybody. And eventually, Isaac Price again, the winner of the GT2 Challenge Round 3 from Aston North.
I think that definitely came down to the wire there. Isaac still driving around with a clutch completely depressed and 0 revs on that engine. I think he ran out of fuel. So that just shows that because he had that faster pit stop, he put a little less fuel in now as Isaac bails to the left just before turn number 9.
I wonder if Katir's going to give him a little push back to the pits. Is he? Oh, no. Right to the start finish line. Yes, Yanni. He doesn't have fuel. You're going to need to give him a push. Yeah. No, he's not just trying to touch you, Yanni. He wants you to give him a push. No. Yanni. Yeah, there we go. Finally, there we go. He's finally understood.
A little bit of brilliancy after the race finish, and a very interesting onboard shot from the back of Isaac Price.
No, it's great to see the racecraft from everybody. Laguskas, I think, also is out of fuel. The man who finished just 0.49 of a second behind Isaac Price at the line. And Isaac, again, with the fastest lap of the race. There's just nothing that can stop this man. And like you said, every time he's won, it's not been clean cut. It's not been boring. He's left it really late. Always last lap drama that, you know, keeps us entertained. And this is exactly what we want to see. And, you know, it's great to commentate on. I'm sure it's great to watch as well. Thank you to everybody who's watched today. And if you've been around since the start of the race, thank you.
A couple of days ago,
It appears as though the shark is now Yanni Katia from our camera angles at the moment as he pushes Isaac Price in. Oh, there we go again, little bump. Lovely.
A couple of days ago, I've seen posts where someone wrote it's boring to enter any race with Isaac Price as a competitor because you already know who's going to win, but these races show that this is only half of the story.
Indeed, there's 5 drivers I reckon who could have won that race, but Price comes through in the end just.
I mean, no one knows what would have happened if Arturo Yorostalo didn't lose it in the corkscrew.
We know Joe Holmes carried enough fuel to get to the end of the race. We thought he was on the same strategy as Vitatas Laguskas, the man who finished second. There was a few seconds between them two on track, but I think if Joe Holmes could have eked his tyres out and not stopped in the middle of that race, I think the gap between Laguskas and Cotillo was great enough that Joe Holmes would have slotted in to the final position on the podium there.
So, I don't know if we're having an interview today. Pete in the Eyre, do you know if they're coming in for interviews today? Thank you.
If anybody decides to pop up, we'll obviously talk to them. But
yes,
for now.
But for now, remember, please to subscribe to the channel here at follow it's Twitch. Follow the channel here on simbroadcast.tv here on Twitch. Each of you is very important to us. We wouldn't be able to do this without you, and we hope we've given you entertainment today for the 3rd race of the season. Thilo, would you like to go through the final order here today from Aston North?
So, 3rd round of the 2020 GT2 Challenge by New Dimension Racing. We saw the victory of Isaac Price for Eyre Racing after 1 hour 28 minutes and 32.46 seconds. He's followed by the XRR driver of Vytautas Laguskas for Last Lap Motorsports. 3rd position and last place on the podium for Yanni Katia, World Class Lions, in an XRR 12 seconds behind. Fourth position, Joe Holmes, also in an XRR, followed by Arturo Stalo in the second FZR. Sixth position, Energy Virtual Racing's Victor Veloso. Seventh, Matthias Mackie-Hölmöller for Team Virus. Eighth position, Keiki Piroppo for Energy Virtual Racing. Ninth, Nico Pontola for Mare Racing. Rounding out the top 10, Andres Leibniz for Core Racing. 11th, Przemek Wdowiec for Conquest Racing, followed by Matthias Pikkarainen for Team Rock Racing, Jared Mead for Angry Angus Racing, 14th for Patrick Hlinka, Born to Race, 15th, Jeffin Jacob, followed by Daniel Baller, both for Race Green Autosports. 17th position, Borislav Botev, Fast and Crazy Sim Sports, in front of Sean Lee for Aerotech Newsroom Racing. 19th position, Cristobal Gonzalez for Born to Race. 20th, Jürgen Weber for Heroes of Racing. Maciej Dimczyk for Race Green Autosports in 21st. Greg LeBlanc, Angry Angus Racing, 22nd. And last finisher, Agnes Rositis for Latvian Army Racing Team.
We are joined now by our three-time race winner this season, Isaac Price. Isaac, a different sort of victory today for you. Instead of leading from the front and trying to make your tyres last, you were the one doing the chasing today. I bet with a few laps to go, you're wondering if you were actually going to catch him, though.
Yeah, I was watching the gaps through the last stint, and I could see I was kind of catching a second a lap, but I thought I wasn't quite going to catch him. I thought I'd get him on the catch him kind of last corner of the race, but he lost a second on one of the laps, so that kind of a second extra, I mean. So yeah, it kind of gave me that little bit I needed to catch him right on the last lap.
At the start, you seemed to have a fairly extreme heat peak, and it cost you quite a lot of time. Was that expected from how your practice stints had gone before the race? Because it seemed as though you were falling back quite quickly at the start, but then as soon as the heat peak was over, you were quite clearly the quickest car on the track.
I don't think so. I should have really been better in the first few laps of the race. I kind of got a bit rattled with the contact on the first lap with me and R2, and I never really settled down until I got a bit of clear air. I think once I managed to get past Lagukas the first time, I kind of settled down then, and I was able to run my own race. But yeah, I mean, I had to take a lot of risk in the second stint. I should have been a bit closer. I think he did a really good job. So yeah.
So again, congratulations on the race win once again and the fastest lap. And just looking at the timing chart, nobody really seemed to get within 0.3 of you. So once you were unleashed and the heat peak was off and the fuel dropped out of the car, how were you able to extract so much speed from your machinery today?
I mean, from my side, I was taking a lot of risk, especially in the last stint through Eau Rouge. I was really hanging it out there. That was where I was gaining most of my time, I think. I mean, my car is probably a bit faster than the XRR through Sector 1 and Sector 2 because it's really good on traction. But then Sector 3 and 4, the XRR generally, it's through the fast corners, it has a bit of an advantage and gains some of the time back. But through Eau Rouge, I was just really taking it full risk, especially in the last stint. I kind of wasn't sure if I should just settle for second or not, but I saw it was possible, and I just pushed 110% after that. I did a bit of second stint practice before the race, and I think my slowest lap was faster than my fastest lap when I tried it in practice. So yeah, I was really pushing hard.
Well, congratulations again, Isaac, and thank you very much for joining us. And I believe you may not be around for the final race. Is that correct?
Well, fingers crossed, yes. I mean, it's kind of weird to say that because I'd really like to finish the season, but I'll be racing on R Factor 2 in the official virtual Le Mans 24-hour race with drivers such as like Fernando Alonso, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, and all the top sim racers as well. So it's going to be one of the and Alan Turzic, yeah. So yeah, I think but yeah, it's a few really big LFS names from the past as well. So yeah, it's going to be really cool event. I think it's kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity, really. With coronavirus, you don't expect to see an event like that happening in the near future ever again. So I want to put all my focus into that and enjoy the experience. So, but unfortunately, that event clashes with the last round. So I would have thought that I'll skip the last round unless for some reason my car DNFs or something. But yeah, so we'll see though. I'll see how it goes.
So best of luck to you for the virtual Le Mans. Obviously, some big names in there, but it's great how versatile you are to jump between sims and still be competitive in all corners of sim racing. So hats off to you there.
Thanks.
So we're joined as well in the commentary box by the man in third position, Yoni Katilla. How was your race, Yoni?
A bit of luck. Didn't really expect to be on podium with my pace, but I saw Isaac failing in the beginning, and I saw Arthur failing hard on Eyre, so that kind of gave me a big luck boost. But after the pit stop, I had no pace. I don't know why, but that's kind of disappointing. So I had no chance to catch Lucas or Isaac in the end.
This morning when I spoke to you, you were insistent you wouldn't qualify in the top 10 and you'd be lucky to finish in the top 10. So something must have happened when you eventually went and had a sleep this morning to give you a podium finish.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Just tried to drive clean and consistent.
Do you think that? Sorry, I was going to say, do you think you made the right choice with your setup to go with the R2 as opposed to the R3? It was very interesting seeing all these different setup choices that the XRR drivers in particular made today.
Yeah, I couldn't really get R3's work for me, so and they kind of felt sluggish for me, so I just had to go R2s. And I was hoping for safety car, but that didn't happen this time.
Many congratulations on the final step of the podium. You finished in third by quite some margin. So you were 20 seconds clear, Joe Holmes in fourth position. So you earned it, definitely. So congratulations once again.
Thanks.
So thank you for everybody joining us today from Aston for the round 3 of NDR's GT2 Challenge. Please consider following us if you haven't. We've now gained a Twitch partner thanks to our little community. Oh, sorry, Twitch affiliate, not partner just yet, thanks to all you viewers. And it's great to see the sim broadcast community that we've gained. It's always good to see the same familiar faces in the chat week in and week out. And if you're wondering what we're up to, our broadcast calendar, if you scroll down just a little bit, here's a link in our Twitch description. You can see that next up we have Team Rock Racing Championship round 22 from a custom Aston configuration in the FBM. That's on Tuesday the 2nd of June at 7 p.m. UTC. Following that, we've got Saturday the 6th of June, we've got Fragmasters Fox Friday, the 10th anniversary race from Aston Grand Touring in the Fox, and that's a 3-hour race, so keep posted for that. That's on, as I said, the 6th of June at 1800 UTC. And then on Sunday, we are doing commentary for Bagheera Zero Mileage GT Cup Round 4. That's at Aston North in the XRR. So thank you for joining us so far. I'll let Chris sign us off.
3 races in, 3-time winner. 3 completely different races. Maybe this didn't quite have the drama of West Hill, but it still had some fantastic racing. From all of us here at simbroadcast.tv, good night, and thank you for joining us once again, and we will see you in a few weeks. Goodbye.